here we are, Election Day. Now, a couple of quick notes about Election Day. Today, you're going to hear a bunch of celebrities tell you, you must vote. You're going to hear a bunch of media people talking about the wonders of American voting. And it's true. It's an incredible thing that we get to decide the future of our politics in this country. It's also a day when we remember that the people that we wouldn't trust to pick up our mail are going to decide how our families live. So that's kind of depressing. And it's a reminder that you know what's the best way to run a democracy? To not give the government power in the first place. I'm talking to you Democrats. I'm talking to you Republicans. I'm talking to everyone. If the government were less powerful, if the government were not all that important in your life, then you would not care all that much about the outcome of the election. You'd have a stake in voting, but it wouldn't feel like a life or death thing. And for a lot of folks today, I mean, when the election results start flowing in tonight, people are going to lose their minds. People are just going to lose it because whichever way it goes, people are going to think it's the end of the world. If the Democrats sweep, Republicans are going to feel as though they are under the gun again, just like during the Obama years. And if the Republicans sweep, Democrats are going to feel like the democracy is at an end. In reality, is our democracy at an end? No, it's not. And if gridlock ensues because Democrats win the House, that would be bad for a variety of reasons, which is why you should go out and vote Republican today, in my opinion. But with that said, the alarmism that it's the end of the world, no one will survive. We've got Andre the Giant out there in his Holocaust cloak screaming, there will be no survivors. Like that stuff, it's not the case. It's not the case. Okay, politics matter, but you know what matters more? Pretty much everything else in your life. Really, politics does matter. I spend my life doing it. But again, I think it's imperative to recognize that politics only matters insofar as people are trying to control your life from above. So we should all be fighting for the same thing, which is for people to leave us alone. With that said, we are now into the final pitch. The final day is here. It has arrived. Let them fight. So the final pitch from President Trump is basically, yeah, it would probably be better if I talked about the economy. Sure, it would be better if I were more uniting. But let's be real about this. Democrats aren't interested in uniting, so I'm going to troll the living hell out of them. That was basically Trump's closing message yesterday. He has talked about the economy. The fact is that when people say Trump doesn't talk about the economy, he should be pitching the economy. He has talked about the economy pretty incessantly. But if you're the president of the United States and you say two things, one is the economy's great and the other is Stormy Daniels is a horse face, one of those things is probably going to get more attention than the other thing, just as a matter of fact. Now, here is how Republicans could have run in this election. And this is not me saying that Republicans are going to do badly. Maybe they surprise everybody and do great tonight. The polls right now are showing that the poll average, at least from 538, has Democrats up about 9 in the generic ballot. The Real Clear Politics poll average has Democrats up about 8 in the generic ballot. I think that Republicans are going to do slightly better than that because in every midterm election since 2002, the Real Clear Politics poll average has overpolled Democrats. This is true in 2006 when it said that Democrats were going to have about a 10-point advantage. They finished with a 7-point advantage. It was true in 2010 when they said that Republicans were going to have about a 5-point advantage. It turned into a 7-point advantage. It happened again in 2014 when they said Republicans had about a 3-point advantage and it was a 7-point advantage. So it is possible that the polls are systemically undercounting Republicans. Again, that is a possibility. But with all of that said, if you had to put betting money on tonight's election, you would suggest that Democrats take the House fairly easily. If you look at the 538 analysis, this is Nate Silver's group, the 538 analysis, and I think data are appropriate to analyze, the analysis suggests that in the sort of 80 percentile range of certainty is the Democrats win somewhere between 21 and 57 seats, which is a very broad range. But remember, Democrats only need to win 23 to take the House. That means that it's very unlikely that Republicans keep the House at this point. If I had to put money on it, I would be saying 35 seats and above for Democrats in the House. Republicans pick up maybe 1, maybe 2 seats in the Senate. Because 3 weeks ago, I think the math was a little bit different, but the narrative over the past 3 weeks has not been good for Republicans. And again, President Trump's final pitch is a pretty polarizing one, which may get more Republicans out to the polls, but will also bring more Democrats out to the polls. Here's what the election could have been. So Rush Limbaugh did a rally for President Trump in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is Rush's hometown. And I've never seen Rush do anything like this before, which is, it's a pretty amazing showing by Rush, right? Rush doesn't tend to do this sort of thing. Sean Hannity also showed up to cover the event, but then he ended up on stage pumping President Trump, which again, a lot of folks are very upset at Sean Hannity for doing this. Here's my feeling. Who cares? Really, this is my feeling. Because was anyone unaware that Sean is a big President Trump fan? Like, so what? It seems not inappropriate to me. If I saw Al Sharpton campaigning for Barack Obama, he's a host on MSNBC. If I saw Chris Hayes campaigning for Elizabeth Warren, I wouldn't be shocked. Frankly, if I saw Anderson Cooper campaigning for Hillary Clinton, that would not have shocked me in any way, because we all know where everybody stands in partisan fashion. In any case, Rush points out that he's at Trump's rally, and he says, listen, the fact is that Democrats talk about us being divisive. They are the ones who are divisive. They never accepted the fact that they lost. And of course, Rush is correct about this.
The president and all of us have been labeled by some Democrats in the media divisive. Divisive? The Democrats haven't even accepted they lost the election in 2016. That's what this is all about.
Okay, and of course, Rush is correct about this. When it comes to divisiveness, Democrats had a patent on this before President Trump. President Trump is divisive, and this is the point that I'm going to make here, is that regardless of how the election goes, the best election strategy would have been to run on success. Here's President Trump trying to do that a little bit yesterday. He said that with the economy this good, we should be able to have some electoral success here.
Well, it's almost not understandable. We have the best economic numbers ever to come out. You know, we have probably the best economy that any president's ever had when he ran for office. We have the best economy that there has ever been, let alone for an election. So I think we're going to have tremendous success tomorrow. I think it's going to be great.
Okay, that would be a solid pitch. It would also be a solid pitch to talk about how Republicans have improved other aspects of American life. There's a good piece in the New York Post today by Mary Vaught talking about Republicans' impact on healthcare. Now, her husband, Russ, is deputy director of the Office of Management and Budget, but she's also the mother of a child with a life-threatening genetic disease, so she has a stake, obviously, in the health system, as all of us do. She says, the administration has made expanded access to prescription drugs a top priority. In the fiscal year that ended on September 30th, the FDA okayed 971 generic drugs, which is a record, breaking the old mark of 937 approvals set just last year. Compare that to the 651 greenlit in 2016 under Obama and 492 the year before that under Barack Obama. The more rapid approval of generic drugs has an impact on patient wallets, which of course is true. Also, the administration has expanded access to more coverage options, including short-term plans. Individuals who can't afford Obamacare actually now have more alternatives with more reasonable rates. So there are a lot of victories that Trump gets to account for in his first 2 years, but that is not what we're talking about. Instead, what we are talking about is the trollery. And that's because this has been sort of an endemic problem to being conservative in the Trump era, which is that trollery is really enjoyable. Right? Trolling the other side and watching them explode is really enjoyable. And listen, there's a whole line of memes that are dedicated to me destroying the left. Right? There's a whole line of videos of me destroying the left. Now, I think that those videos are useful insofar as they are generally done in the context of a civil discussion, but the right has fallen in love with the idea of owning the left and driving them batty. And they're not wrong that when the left looks batty, they do worse in electoral terms. But when Republicans do the wrong thing in order to drive the left batty, that is not helpful either. President Trump could have walked that line. He has not really walked that line. So here's President Trump doing what President Trump does best, which is speaking from the hip. He says, listen, I'd love to unite, but no.
The fact is, I shouldn't say this because I want to unite. I do eventually want to unite, but the fact is we're driving them crazy. We're driving them crazy. They don't know what to do. They're going loco.
Yeah, so there's that uniting language that we all hear about. Now, again, in a second, I'm going to get to the Democrats and the great lie that the Democrats are pushing forward, which is that they are the uniting party. The thing about Trump, and the reason people like Trump, is because Trump does strip away a lot of the pretense from politics. And Trump says, like Barack Obama used to stand up there and go, I'm a uniter. I love to unite people. Also, everyone who disagrees with me is a jerk. They're all jerks. They're the worst. And that was Obama's shtick. Trump gets up there and he's like, listen, I'd love to unite people, but I don't care. It's hilarious. And it's like, okay, fair. All right. But is it a great electoral strategy? You know, here's the thing. When you drive people crazy, they do tend to vote more often. When you make people angry, they do tend to vote more often. Sanguine people don't vote. Angry people tend to vote more often. But this, of course, is also what gets Trump's base out there. So tonight we're going to find out whether Trump actually has a movement or whether the 2016 election was a moment in time. And I don't mean that Trump has to win overwhelming victories in order for us to say that he has a movement. And what I mean by movement is something above and beyond sort of normal Republican voting. Now, the theory in 2016 was that Trump had put together this brand new coalition that was dominant in American politics, reshifting the center, rejiggering all of our assumptions about politics. And there was a data point, and the data point was the 2016 election. But a data point is not a fact pattern. And so the question tonight is going to be, whether that data point starts to look like a fact pattern. So in a second, I want to talk about what would make it look like a fact pattern, and we'll talk about other stuff that President Trump said to double down on this particular attitudinal movement.
Get out there, knock doors, make calls, tweet, post on Facebook, tell people why they have to go vote tomorrow and vote for Republicans.
Well, that was the message from Laura Trump, the president's daughter-in-law, campaigning in Florida yesterday to support Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis in his race with Democrat Andrew Gillum for Florida governor. Laura Trump joins us now live in studio. Great to have you.
Thanks.
I know you just cut across Manhattan, and it's a crazy day today and lots of rain, so thanks for being here.
Yeah.
But just watching that clip, I sense your enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
And your commitment to your father-in-law's campaign.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is a family ordeal. We all got into this in 2015 when he announced as a family. We've all been supportive of him and everything that's going to ensure that this country heads in the right direction. And so the most important thing that we could all do as a family really was to get out on the campaign trail here for these midterm elections and make sure that people understand exactly what the president has been saying at all of his rallies. If you voted for me in 2016, if you're happy with the country under, President Donald Trump, you have to get out and you have to vote for Republicans because that's the only way we're going to see progress continue in this country.
You know, it's interesting. Some, though, have even Republicans in recent days have said to the president, you're off message. Stick to the economy. Stick to that question. Are you better off today than you were 2 years ago? But he did in these final days and weeks make this big push on immigration.
Yeah, well, I do think that that's something that's really important to people in this country. And I actually give the president a lot of credit with bringing things up that I think otherwise would get lost. You do have a caravan of people that I actually would refer to more as an invasion than a caravan. It's very scary. For friends of ours on border states, they really are taking this very, very seriously. You have thousands of people that are saying, we're going to bust through your borders. We're not going to obey your laws. We're not going to do anything the proper way. That should be a threat to everyone in this country. And listen, the president has shed light on it and made people more aware, I think, of what's going on.
Well, we have had several Democrats on the program this morning and throughout the morning on Fox News Channel, and you hear their enthusiasm, too. You hear warnings of a blue wave coming. We saw the president, your father-in-law, the last couple days, yesterday alone, 3-stop campaign blitz. I mean, he has been out there. Is this going to make a difference for Republicans?
In my mind, there's no way that thousands and thousands of people wait in line for 12, 16 hours at a time to go see the president, to hear a message from him, and then don't follow his instructions to get out and vote. So I do think it's making an impact.
Let's talk specifically, because there's this tight race for the Florida governor that we let in with here. What do you know about what is happening there? You went down to Florida and you were campaigning for Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, well, Ron is a great guy. He's been very supportive of the president, and I think he would do an incredible job as governor of Florida. So I went down yesterday to try and encourage people to get out and vote for him. I think the people of Florida are taking very seriously the fact that his opponent is running as a socialist. That is incredibly scary to people in this country. If you want to know what socialism looks like, look at Venezuela. That is not something that we want to have happen in the United States of America. Andrew Gillum has been very clear what he wants to do with Florida, and it's going to drive people away from Florida. The reasons that people love the state of Florida, he wants to take all those away. So I really wanted to go down and support Ron. I'll tell you, we had almost 1,000 people at the last rally we had yesterday. They were so excited about getting out and voting today. So we'll see what happens.
Finally, I want to ask you about this. The Cook Report says that fired up female college graduates are going to be the group to watch in this election. On Election Day, if that's a case, what does that mean for Republicans? What does that mean for Democrats?
Well, I am a female graduate, college graduate myself, and I'll tell you, I have a 13-month-old son, and from what I can gather from so many women out there, they may not tell anyone, they may not be telling their friends or posting on social media, but when it's just them there in the voting booth and they think about where we are in this country, that the future looks better for them, for their children, and that they're safer in this country, I really think a lot of women are voting for Donald Trump. And I said it in 2016, Sandra. I remember people asking me, they said the polls don't look good for women.
You think that's the case this time, too?
I still don't believe polls. I still think that women are voting for Donald Trump and for Republicans.
Very interesting stuff. Laura Trump, great to have you on the program.